Okie doke. So today I want to talk with you guys about how to create, customize, and integrate Google Classroom into your everyday classroom for the 2020-21 school year. Oh my gosh, that's a mouthful, you guys. I'm never saying that again. Okay, so first you need to get to Google Classroom. To add a class that is brand spanking new, we are going to come to the plus sign. We're going to click Create. We are going to do, we're going to name it subject wow, get all the letters in there. See, I typed it, but I didn't say it. So the first thing I want to do is kind of show you how to customize it to make it fit your need, but also to kind of make it fun for the students, as fun as school can be for the students. First thing I always do right out of the gate is change the header. And this year I just happen to have a really cute custom one that has my Bitmoji, because in case any of you are doubting it, I have fallen in love with using Bitmoji on everything. So we will drag this to the dimensions that we need, and we will click Select Class Theme. So now that's going to change it. Okay. So the next thing that I need to do is add my students. So we're going to come to People. It's not just students that I add. I usually include the classroom teachers in all of my Google Classroom. So for elementary, library, and tech time, I include the grade teacher. For TEALS and robotics, I include Mrs. Dennis. So I come up to the teacher section, I go ahead and I type in their email, and I invite. For the students, it's the exact same process. You can either manually enter them, or you can have them add themselves. I really don't recommend that process, because really easy for them to be like, it's not working, why isn't it working? So sometimes extreme measures. So I am going to add a student to this one. So I'll add my little person up here, and I'm going to type in the SL guest, and I'm going to add that. That's my go-to. That's how I always get the student view on an assignment. So it says they're being invited. And something that I've discovered after this distance learning is the nicest feature of Google Classroom, in my opinion, is the ability to include guardians. So I'm going to go ahead and invite a guardian. For this instance, I'm just going to use my personal email. So now we have a parent listed down here. And the thing that's really nice about that is then we can go ahead and we can email all guardians. You click that, it takes you straight to your Gmail with their email addresses already plugged into the recipient line. You can also go ahead and select your student, email, remove, or mute them. So we have our students, we have our co-teachers added. We are going to do a little bit of setting tweaking. So if we click the gear up here in the top right, it takes us to our settings. The first thing out, if we want, we can change any of the class details. Okay. The next thing is general. These settings I customize a lot based on the grade that I am working with at that time. This is how they add themselves manually. Stream. This is your Google Classroom stream, which I try to use that vernacular very much, especially with our elementary students. It's like your Facebook timeline, except it's your Google Classroom timeline. It shows them all the posts you've made. And on there, you have three options. Students can post and comment just like you. They can only comment, so that if I post something, they can talk in the comments. Or I make it so that I am the only one that is allowed to post and comment. They cannot add questions or comments to an assignment. For high school students, I always put they can only comment. For most of my elementary, I turn off comments for them, because I've discovered we have some students that like to waste time. So it just kind of is a personal preference there. Classwork on stream. This one I also very much enjoy. When it is condensed, it only shows the title of the assignment on the Google Stream. When you have show attachments and details, it shows the title of your assignment, but then it shows your instructions as well as your links, as well as how many students have turned it in versus how many it's still assigned to. Or you can make it so that absolutely none of your assignments show up on your stream. It's just for announcements. That's it. So again, personal preference. Personally, I always show the attachment and details just because I've discovered students are a little bit more apt to go, oh, that looks different. I must have a new assignment. Show deleted items. This one I usually just kind of leave there by itself. If I have an assignment that I've deleted and I'm like, ooh, I'd like to reuse that, I'll turn it on and find it. But for the most part, I leave it off. Guardian summaries. So what that entails, just for those of you that might be wondering, it shows the parents what missing work they have, upcoming work, class activities. So that's whenever you post an announcement, whenever you post an assignment, any questions, stuff like that, parents will get an email showing that. Okay, Google Meet. I have kind of mixed feelings about this. It is really convenient for students to get to a Google Meet if you have it associated with your Google Classroom. That puts it up in the header bar, but the link changes each time it's used. So pretty much what that means is you cannot then link it to your calendar directly. And the one downfall of that is the calendar is the only way you are able to add attachments. The workaround that is simple. You add the attachments to your Google Classroom and you leave it at that. We do that for TEALS because we do not use Meet or Zoom for TEALS. TEALS has a program that they require us, well, not require us, they encourage us and they pay for us to use called Neuro, which is not Google integrated. So we already have had to deal with not being able to add attachments to our Meet that way. A couple of solutions, like I said, include your attachments on your Google Classroom, and then during your Meet, tell them, hey, the assignment I want you to look at is on Google Classroom. Go open it now. Let me know when it's open. The other thing is in Google Meet, you can simply message them in the chat the link for the document that you want. So that's really, again, comes down to personal preference. Personally, after going through all of the distance learning this last year, I really don't mind having the Google Meet incorporated into Google Classroom, especially for the younger kids. It's really just easier for them, easier for the parents if you say, hey, a link is at the top of their Google Classroom. You go to Classroom, you click it, you're there. I've had a number of parents say that that was so much easier than having to bookmark the link from the calendar, getting it from an email, or having to go to a calendar. So that just for you to be aware, that comes down to personal preference, but there are workarounds to make it so that this really does work streamlined. So for this instance, I'm going to generate a Meet link. I can have it, and then if all of a sudden I'm like, we're not using that, like for instance, when we're doing face-to-face learning, I can make it invisible to the students. It's not there for them. I will still see it as the teacher, but they will not. Okay, now that that rant is over, the last section in your settings is grading. This is where you would tie in Skyward a little bit. Like, it doesn't automatically send your grades to Skyward or anything, which would be really cool. But in Skyward, you place more emphasis on certain types of assignments than others. For TEALS, we do it by percentage, and this is where you would incorporate that. So actually, I'm going to show you what it looks like for our TEALS class, because I actually have that already pretty and done. So first off, I have overall grade calculation, and it's weighed by category. This is where you go in and you state what percentage emphasis you want based on the type of assignment it is. So you have that in there. You can add your grade category. It automatically tells you when you've reached 100. Okay. The other thing is you can show your overall grade to students. I generally have this off. So it, again, personal preference. Okay, so let's get back to our distance learning. Okay. And then once you have that all inputted, save. Okay.
So for this part of the tutorial, I was really curious what that show overall grade to student setting looks like, but also how students themselves get in to see what work they have out and missing and all of that stuff. So I've switched back over to my student account, and we're going to go to the classwork tab. Up at the very top, it says view your work. This is where they're going to go to kind of get their overview of their gradebook. That show overall grade to student is this part right here. If you have that deselected, they can still see all of this, but this right here would be a blank area. So this is where they can see all of the assignments. They can see what grades they've received on them. But then if you're missing an assignment, they can come right here to missing, and it'll show them what they have missing. Returned, assigned, those are explanatory too. But yeah, so that's how that setting takes effect for the students themselves.
That is pretty much the main bit of customization that I do. Let us go and create an assignment and see how that works. So we go to classwork. That is where all of their assignments will be. That's where they can go and look through them to see what they have turned in, what they have not turned in, all of that fun stuff. First thing I generally do in here is create topics. We're going to have G Suite. We are going to have learning tools. And the reason I'm adding learning tools separate is because some of the tools that I have and that I want to share with you all integrate with Google, but they aren't created by Google and can be used without Google if you absolutely wanted. So yeah. And I'm also adding a mock assignment section because one of the goals that I have for this summer is to have you send me assignments that you think will be very difficult to digitize and kind of try to work through to see how best to do that, and also to make it easy for you all to become comfortable doing that. So the first thing is I hate how it orders it. I want to be able to make it whatever order I want. So guess what? I want that like that. All you have to do is hover, that invisible box comes up, click and hold, and you can drag it all over the place. Okay. So I have my topics for the time being. I'm going to now create an assignment. So I click create, and you have all of these different options. Assignment speaks for itself. You can create an assignment. Quiz. This automatically sets it up for a Google form style quiz. We use this a lot for TEALS also. And the really nice thing about this is in the Google form, you can create a quiz. You can set what the correct answer is, and it will grade it for you. And this option right here will take the grade in that Google form and automatically apply it to your gradebook. You do not have to grade it unless you have, text questions that you have to go in and make assessments on. It's not just multiple choice. That's what that automatic grading works best at. Question, I use this a lot with my elementary students for their exit tickets or for distance learning, their check-in questions. And this literally, it doesn't have a grade value to it. It just asks them a question and allows them to answer it. It's really nice. You can either have a text question or text answer or a multiple choice. For my kindergarten, I usually use multiple choice, like, which do you prefer, cat or dog? And then we practice looking at what that looks like on like a chart. Material. I used this for TEALS to post articles that I found interesting that they would read. I use this for robotics to post our flyer for the Robot Rumble. It's something that I don't want them to do. I don't want them to edit. I just want them to have access to. Reusable posts. This one's interesting because let's say for my first grade library, I post an assignment and then later go, oh crud, I would love to use that for my third, fourth grade library. I click reuse post. It automatically lets me find that post in my first, second grade library and post it to my third, fourth grade. I can even tweak it a little bit. Okay. Now that I've gone over each of those, we're going to click assignment and create a basic assignment. And we are going to do okay. So the title, as I go into creating this, I have discovered something that I love, and the students, including my high school students, are either going to enjoy or they're going to hate me for continually using. I don't know. We're up in the air yet. I use a lot of emojis in my post to make them, first off, a little bit more catchy, but a little bit more fun. So for this one, I would use an emoji, and the way you can do that, there are two ways. There's an extension that you can install. You don't have to do that though. If you are using a PC, so pretty much everybody but Mr. Houston, sorry. On your keyboard, find your Windows button, which will have your little Windows flag that looks like your start menu down here. Hold it and click the period button. And this nifty little window will pop up. You can type a word and find the emoji you want to go with it. And then click it, it inserts it, and you little exit that, and it'll be there. I use that a lot in my instructions. So I will sit there and I will go, okay. I will have my I will have my starting flag. Okay. And I don't want to always pop that new window up if I'm repeating, so I just highlight it, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And I usually will separate my instructions based on that. If there's something I really want them to pay attention to, like don't forget to click turn in at the end, I will use, oh, they probably hate me. I use the explode, and I will go, and it just makes it a little bit more of a poppy type thing. They focus a little bit more on it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Anywho, that's how you would add emojis. Okay, so to add material to your assignment, there are two things you can do. You can add or you can create. If you've already made up the document or you have the link or the YouTube video you want them to watch, you would click add. If you want to create the assignment right then and there, you would click create. And it gives you all of these different options. Okay, so you would just click it. It pops up. I'll show you. Pops up down here, and it'll also open your window. And so you can go ahead and do that. Name it. Okay, so you have it created, added, all of that. It's saved. Oh, it's saving right now, so we want to wait. Okay, now it's saved. So I just close that. Okay, do not panic right now. I named that document, and it still says it's untitled. It did save the title. It just hasn't come to this page yet. Once I've posted it, the students will see it titled what I titled it in the document. Okay. This feature right here will be vital for most of your assignments. I use the living daylights out of this. So if there is something that I want them to be able to view, like instructions, like really in-depth instructions for the assignment, you can click view, and they will just be able to see the document. They can't edit it, they can't anything, just read it. If you want students to collaborate, you would click edit. And what that will do is one document for all of the students it's assigned to. This would be very handy for group projects, and I will show you how that would work in a second. But if you want each student to have an assignment, like the good old days of passing out a piece of paper to each person, having them do their own work, and then handing it in to you when they are finished, you will select make a copy for each student. Okay? Okey-doke. So that is for that document right now. Now, for this assignment, I have some Google slide in my Google Drive. Wow, how many times can she say Google in a sentence? So I'm going to click add, and here are your options. If you have a doc, sheet, slide, form, or drawing that you would like to share with the students, that you've already made up, you're going to click Google Drive. If you have a website that you want them to visit, you are going to click Link. If you have something like a PDF or an image from your computer that you would like to share, you are going to click File. If you have a YouTube video that you want them to view, you are going to copy the URL of that YouTube video, and you will click YouTube. Okay, I have a Google Drive document. Okay. And notice there are different options up here. I don't want to skip over this. I generally just click My Drive and navigate through it like I would if I were actually in my drive. That for me is easiest. But you also have the option to do recent. So any of your recent documents, if it is the last thing you worked on, just go to recent, click it, and go. If you are like me and you use Google File Stream, you can drag and drop it straight from there. Google Drive, like I said, navigates it just like your Google Drive. If you are one of the few that use shared drives, you can go ahead and grab it from there. Starred. There are things that I know are really important that I visit often. I star them. You can go in and automatically click that and share it. If you have any questions on that, let me know. So I'm going to go to Google Drive. I'm going to put it back in alphabetical order. No, it does not stay in alphabetical order, annoyingly enough. And I'm going to go and I'm going to select this. Normally, this would just say mock ELA lesson. But this is an assignment that I've assigned in a previous tutorial, so it has the student's name attached to it. Again, we are going to click Make a Copy for each. So now I have all of these set up. We are going to add one last thing, and it is going to be a link. So I have it. I've already copied the link that I need. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to paste. Control V. I'm going to add link. And what this is I use an app called Pear Deck with Google Slides, and it allows me to make interactive lessons on Google Slides where students can answer questions, multiple choice, drag and drop. They can have audio, all of this stuff. It makes Google Slides into an interactive lesson that either can be done at a teacher's pace or a student's pace. So I'm going to paste that in there. Okay, now to the assigning settings. So over here we have who the assignment is for. If we click that, we see all of our Google Classrooms. If you have an assignment that you would like to post to multiple classrooms, this is where you will do it. I use this a lot for library. If there is something I want to share with first, second grade, usually I post it to kindergarten 3 and 4 also, because it applies to them as well. I did that a lot during distance learning for their tech time lessons. So you would just go ahead and you would select the ones you want. Don't worry, they're unselectable as well. The only one that is not is the class that you are currently in. You cannot unselect that. Okay, so I was talking about if you wanted to do group projects. What you would do ultimately is you can edit that document, and then you would label this. Okay. Then you come to all students, and this is where you select who is in group 1. So if you have 12 kids in your class and you want 3 groups, you would select the 4 that you have assigned to group 1, and they're the only ones that will be able to see this particular post. You would do that then for each of the other groups. Then you have grade category. This is where the emphasis grade comes in. So you would post what type of assignment this is, and then when it's graded, it automatically grades it. It automatically applies its grade to the overall grade based on its category. I said that right. Okay. And then you allot how many points you want for it. You can change it around. You can leave it ungraded, whatever you want. Your due date, you're going to click that. You can change it all around. You can add a time. If you decide later, I want it to be an open-ended assignment, Just click X and it goes away. Then you have topic, and this is where in that classwork tab, it will be organized. I want this to be under mock assignments so that when we go to classwork, they can look under mock assignments, and there it is. Rubric. This is something that I just started to use, and it's really nifty. I kind of love it. So when we click Rubric, we have 3 options: create, reuse, import. 9 times out of 10, I just create a rubric. You can easily reuse a rubric. So, for example, lit circles. If you had a grading rubric, and I know that's something that repeats throughout the year, those lit circles, you would just reuse the rubric if you had one for it. Also, you can import from slides. I have used this once. I made a rubric and realized later that I completely messed up on who was able to edit the documents, and I ended up having to delete the assignment because you cannot come back and make a copy for each student. So I just imported the rubric that was from that assignment directly into this new correctly done assignment. So you can do that. You can make one up in Sheets and automatically have it uploaded. Again, I just usually create one. So I'll show you what that looks like. Pops up here. You can have it sort by ascending or descending, and that pretty much means your point values 1 to 3 or 3 to 1. I always do ascending. Just my OCD. Okay. So first you are going to set what this section of criteria is. Okay. I usually do in 3s. Okay. So I usually do below average, average, and above average. And then you can describe it, and you can make that as detailed as you want. So that's that criteria. I want to add another criteria. You kind of get the idea at this point, I'm assuming. And you can add as many or as few of these as you want. The thing that is really nifty about the rubric is as you are stating how many points are earned based on the work put in, this is automatically calculating how many points are possible. So once you have that all figured out and done, you click save, and it will take that from here and it will apply it. So we are going to come here, and it tells us how many points are possible based on the rubric. And there it is right there. Okay, originality reports. This one's interesting because I don't have as much information on this as I would like. As of right now, you can use this 3 times. You have a limit on how many times this can be attached to an assignment. What it is it allows students and teachers to run assignments through a program that checks for plagiarism. And it will let them know the percentage of their assignment that is someone else's words. This is something that could be really nifty. But again, right now, you can only use it 3 times per class. So if you do want to use it, I would hold off using it for like major projects. Okay, so for right now, I have this assignment. It looks pretty good to me. So I would assign it normally, but there are other options. We can assign it, schedule it, save draft, or we can delete it entirely. The only other option on here that I have ever utilized regularly is schedule. This allows you to go ahead and make the assignment up when you have the very elusive free time and schedule it to come out at class time. We use this a lot for TEALs. I will go ahead and make up an assignment, do the instructions, add the appropriate attachments and such, and I will schedule it. That way, first off, the volunteers can then go in and make sure that it's worded all right and that I haven't completely and utterly confused the students. But also, we usually schedule it for the beginning of class. That way, students cannot go in and get a jump start on it. I know it takes a really fortuitous kid to want to do that, Alexis, but they have done it. So we use this 99% of the time in Teals. And I'll show you what that looks like. You click assign. You just find the date you want, and then you would set it for like the beginning of your class. So for Teals, we always do, okay, and you would just click schedule, and I'll show you what that looks like. For you, the teacher, it will show up under classwork, but it'll be grayed out, and it'll tell you when it's scheduled. For the student, there will be nothing there. It will not show them. If you want to go in and change when it's scheduled to come out, or even post it right away, you click this and you click edit assignment. And then here's where you can change it, or you can delete the scheduled time and just assign it right now. Are you sure? Yes, I want to assign it. Okay. So now I've gone ahead and I have assigned this to students in this very second, depending on your internet. Okay, so we're going to pop back to the students so that you can see what this will look like for the students. So we'll go to stream. Here's what they see in the assignment. They see the title. They see what it is going to be put in the gradebook as. They see that it's assigned. If they've turned it in, it will say turned in right here. It tells them the description, the instructions. It shows them the rubric, which is really nice, and they can click into that to see more details. And they will see what's expected of them for each section of the grading. It also then shows your attachments. So they can just go ahead and click. And they can go in and click and edit. This one I made editable. No copies, just editable. So they can go in and do that. And notice it named it according to what I named it when I created that assignment. It'll show their links, all of that fun stuff. Okay. If you're looking at it now, you will notice that there is something missing. On my end, I have 3 attachments. But on the student's end, it's just showing 2. What the students need to be doing, if they aren't going to classwork, from their stream, they need to click the title itself. See how when I go over it, it's gray? They need to click that. That takes them into the full assignment. And then you'll notice over here, the thing I told it to make a copy of for each student, the actual assignment itself, is over here. They click on it from here to access it. The other thing that's really nifty is they can add and create something additional for the assignment. So for Teals, what we would often have them do is we would put a PDF down here that had all of the instructions step by step. And then they would have nothing over here. Because we would have them use a program called REPL. It's a website. They would do all of their coding in REPL. They would grab the URL and they would add the link to it here. This would be helpful. I'm sorry, I keep thinking of lit circles. But if you had them doing a project, and I know back in the day we were allowed to pick the project that we wanted to do, as there was a variety we could choose from. I always went with the board games, which would be hard to apply to this. But if I were to create a game on an external website, I could grab the link for it, add it, and turn in my assignment that way. There are multiple ways you can do that. The other thing that's really nice about this is where students can ask you a question on the assignment. So you'll notice that there's class comments. This is the one that all of their classmates can see. And then there are private comments. So they can go ahead here and ask me a question. And their classmates will not be able to see it. I'll show you what that looks like now over on the teacher side. So we have our class stream. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to look and see who's been working on stuff. And right here, I see that there is a comment down here. So I'm going to click on this student. This is where you are going to be able to go in and see their progress on the assignment. And you will be able to say which part of the rubric they have fulfilled. Or you can manually enter it once you get to grading. But you can also see their comments. And then at this point, once you've looked over it, give them their grade. It's total it up for you, and you can click return. You can add a private comment. Normally, I do some kind of affirmation. If they don't get 100, sometimes I give them pointers and say, hey, if you'll notice on your rubric, you missed a spot on grammar and spelling. In the future, maybe make sure that you proofread a little bit better and more thoroughly. And it shows up in their comments down here too. And then we just click right up here and it takes us back to our stream. It shows which ones have been turned in, assigned, graded, and I'll show you that in the gradebook now. So we go to the grades tab to see each assignment this way. And each of the students, there would be more here, each of the students, whether they have it missing, what they have graded on it, and then their overall grade. It's really nifty. There's one last thing that I want to show you. So I showed you how to create an assignment, but let's say you just have an announcement for your class, and just like an assignment, you can add a document that might be a flyer, a link, whatever you want there, and you can also schedule the announcement. You don't have to post it right away. For that regard, it's the same. Also, you can state who sees it. You can add it to multiple classes, just like an assignment. I'll go ahead and post that. The last thing I am going to share with you has absolutely no tie to Google Classroom itself, but it's something that I found that integrates really well with Google Classroom and is really just kind of a nifty extension. And it is called Talk and Comment. It's an extension that you can install from the Chrome store. Once you click it and you have it turned on, this little microphone down here pops up. And I want to show you what it does. So I'm going to click it. Good morning, boys and girls. So if you've noticed down below, I told you that we have a Google Class Meet this Friday, June 26th at 3 p.m. I really need you to join it. So what you're going to do is you're going to click the Meet link up in the header over Miss K's Bitmoji to join us. Remember, don't be late. Okay, so then this little window pops up and with the audio clip and a URL. I'm going to click it, Control C to copy that. And then I'm going to edit this post. And I'm going to come to the end and I'm going to paste that URL. Note, I did not add the link. I pasted the URL right into the comment itself. And at first, it's going to show that nasty URL. If they click it, it takes them to a website. But after a little bit, you notice that it turned into this. Well, watch what happens. Good morning, boys and girls. So if you've noticed down below, I told you that we have a Google Class Meet. What it does is it allows me to put voice memos into my Google Classroom announcements and assignments. It's really nifty. And if the students have this installed, if this is something that you all would like your students to have on their computer, they could then turn around and voice comment down here. I'll post that URL down there, and this is what would happen if a student commented back. The URL, give it a second, it'll go ahead and turn into this as well, and then the student would have commented back with a voice. This one could be very practical for elementary students who are still learning to type, or for students who have learning disabilities and have difficulty with typing or spelling or conveying thoughts in that manner. So yeah, again, that has absolutely, it is not classroom specific, but it integrates really, really well with Google Classroom and could have some fun practical uses for it. So I think that is my Google Classroom tutorial in a nutshell. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.